The Hillsborough disaster was one of the worst tragedies in the history of British sports. On April 15, 1989, 96 Liverpool football fans lost their lives during a match against Nottingham Forest at Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield, England. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the country and sparked a decades-long campaign for justice led by one determined woman, Anne Williams. The disaster occurred when thousands of Liverpool fans were crushed against the fences at the Hillsborough Stadium, which had been poorly designed and maintained. The tragedy was exacerbated by the lack of preparedness of the police and emergency services, who were unable to respond effectively to the situation. In the aftermath of the disaster, a public inquiry was launched, which found that the primary cause of the tragedy was the failure of the police to control the crowd and ensure the safety of the fans. However, despite the findings of the inquiry, no one was held accountable for the disaster, and the families of the victims were left to grieve without closure or justice. One of those family members was Anne Williams, whose 15-year-old son Kevin died in the disaster. From the moment she learned of her son's death, Anne was determined to find out the truth about what had happened at Hillsborough and to hold those responsible accountable. In 2012, Anne's campaign finally achieved a major breakthrough when a new independent inquiry into the disaster found that the fans were not responsible for the tragedy and that the police had covered up their own failures. This was a moment for the families of the victims, who had spent years fighting for the truth to be acknowledged. In 2016, after years of campaigning by the families of the victims, an inquest into the Hillsborough disaster found that the 96 Liverpool fans had been unlawfully killed and that the police were responsible for the tragedy. This was a historic moment for the families of the victims, who had spent 27 years fighting for justice. The Hillsborough disaster and the subsequent campaign for justice had a profound impact on British society and led to significant changes in the way sporting events are organized and managed.
If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel.